The scent of magnolias filled the air as I walked through the historic streets of Savannah, Georgia. Each step echoed with the whispers of the past, a reminder of the life I once dreamed of living. I was 45, a stepmother caught in the web of my own making, feeling increasingly invisible in a marriage that had lost its spark. My husband, David, was consumed by work, his phone always buzzing with emails and calls that seemed to take precedence over our life together. I often found myself sitting alone on our porch, watching the world go by while he remained locked in his office. One afternoon, while tidying up the clutter in my stepson's room, I stumbled upon an old sketchbook tucked beneath a pile of clothes. Curious, I opened it and was greeted by a flurry of lines and colors that danced across the pages. Each sketch revealed a glimpse into his mind, raw talent bursting forth from every corner. There were portraits of people, landscapes that captured the essence of Savannah's beauty, and even abstract pieces that spoke to emotions I knew all too well. As I flipped through each page, a sense of pride swelled within me. This boy had talent, he was destined for something greater. Later that week, while preparing dinner in our modest kitchen filled with fading sunlight, I overheard David on the phone discussing an upcoming art exhibit featuring local talents. My heart raced at the thought. It would be an opportunity for my stepson to showcase his work to a wider audience. Yet beneath this excitement lurked something else, a strange yearning stirred within me. The idea began to linger in my mind. What if I posed for him? What if this artistic endeavor could bridge the chasm between us? Days passed as this thought took root. It felt both thrilling and terrifying. Posing for my stepson would mean stepping into a role that could shatter everything I had known about family boundaries. But the more I pondered it, the more appealing it became, a chance to feel seen again amidst my overwhelming invisibility. I watched as David continued to immerse himself in work while neglecting our relationship. The distance between us grew palpable. Evenings were spent in silence over dinner plates untouched and conversations reduced to mundane topics about bills or grocery lists. My heart sank further into isolation. One evening after dinner, as David retreated back to his office with yet another stack of papers to review, I made my way back to my stepson's room once more. The sketchbook lay open on his desk as if inviting me back into its world. With trembling hands, I picked up a pencil and began doodling on a blank sheet beside it, an abstract representation of how trapped I felt within these walls. "Mom?" His voice startled me from my thoughts. I turned around to find him standing at the door, surprise etched across his face as he took in what I was doing. "I didn't know you drew," he said softly. "I don't," I replied honestly. "Not really?" He stepped inside and looked at my scribbles with curiosity before glancing back at me, uncertainty flickering in his eyes. "Would you ever consider posing for me?" he asked tentatively. The question hung between us like an unspoken invitation, a chance for connection amid our complicated relationship dynamics. Maybe," I stammered before catching myself. "It could be interesting." His eyes lit up at my response. Perhaps he sensed how much this meant for both of us, a shared moment away from our realities where we could explore something new together. As days turned into weeks filled with secret sessions where we explored art and vulnerability through sketches and brushstrokes, something shifted between us. In those moments when he captured my likeness on canvas or paper, I felt alive again, seen and appreciated in ways long denied by David's indifference. Yet guilt gnawed at me like an insatiable beast lurking just beneath the surface. How could this be right? The lines blurred between artist and muse as we navigated uncharted territory together, each stroke bringing us closer while pushing boundaries we had once held sacred. Then one afternoon during a particularly intimate session filled with laughter and light-hearted banter about art styles gone wrong, the air thick with creativity, I leaned back against the easel while he sketched furiously beside me. "Do you think we're crossing a line?" I asked suddenly, breaking our playful mood. He paused mid-stroke before meeting my gaze with earnestness that sent shivers down my spine. I don't know, he admitted quietly. But it feels good. A rush surged through me at those words, validation wrapped tightly around two souls seeking solace within each other's company amid chaos outside these walls. Just then, a knock echoed from downstairs, a sound so jarring it shattered our moment like glass breaking against stone. My heart raced as dread settled heavily upon me. What if it was David? What if he discovered what we had been doing? Let's keep going, he urged softly but hesitantly, as if sensing my turmoil rising again like tides against shorelines worn thin from storms past. But doubt crept back into my mind like shadows creeping across twilight skies, each stroke now felt tainted by fear rather than freedom, the thrill replaced by anxiety over what lay ahead should anyone discover our secret sanctuary built upon shared dreams yet shadowed by reality's inevitable reckoning. And so here we stood, two souls intertwined through artistry yet teetering precariously on edges unknown, wondering whether this journey would ultimately lead us toward liberation or destruction when all was said and done. The sunlight streamed through the tall windows of the studio, casting a warm glow over the canvases that lined the walls. My stepson, Alex, stood before a blank canvas, his brow furrowed in concentration. I had come to appreciate the way he transformed emptiness into vibrancy with each brushstroke. Today, however, I felt an unusual weight in the air, a tension that hummed beneath our shared silence. "Are you ready?" he asked, breaking the stillness. His voice was steady, but I could sense an undercurrent of anticipation. I nodded slowly, feeling both exhilarated and apprehensive. The morality of what we were embarking upon loomed like a specter in my mind. Posing for Alex was a step into uncharted territory, a dance on the edge of propriety. Yet, as I stood before him, draped in soft fabrics that hinted at my form without revealing too much, I felt an unexpected thrill rush through me. "Let's start with something simple," he suggested as he picked up a brush. The way he held it, confident yet gentle, was mesmerizing. As he began to sketch my outline on the canvas, I closed my eyes for a moment and let myself be enveloped by the experience. Each stroke of his pencil seemed to awaken something dormant within me. It was as if I were being seen for the first time in years. "I can't believe how much this means to me," Alex murmured, his eyes focused intently on his work. "You have no idea how inspiring you are." His words hung in the air between us like a fragile thread connecting our worlds, a thread that felt both thrilling and dangerous. "I'm just glad to help," I replied softly. But deep down, I sensed that this was more than mere assistance. It was an unspoken agreement between us that transcended art and ventured into something far more intimate. Hours slipped away as we lost ourselves in this cocoon of creativity. With each passing moment, my initial doubts began to dissolve into admiration for my stepson's talent and passion. The studio became our sanctuary, a place where societal expectations faded away and raw emotion took center stage. "Can you turn slightly?" he asked after some time. I adjusted my position accordingly while trying to suppress the fluttering sensation in my stomach at his request. As he continued sketching, I couldn't help but notice how his gaze lingered longer than necessary at times, an intensity that ignited sparks within me. Then came an unexpected moment. Alex stepped back from the canvas and looked at me with an expression that sent shivers down my spine. "You look beautiful," he said quietly. Those words hung between us like a fragile secret waiting to be shared aloud, something neither of us had anticipated but both craved nonetheless. Before I could respond or even comprehend what was happening, Alex moved closer again. Our breaths mingled in the space between us as if time itself had paused for this fleeting heartbeat of connection. And then it happened, we kissed. The world around us blurred into insignificance as we surrendered to this newfound intimacy wrapped in artistry and longing, a desire neither of us could deny any longer. But just as quickly as it began, reality crashed back and like an unwelcome wave breaking against a shore of dreams. We pulled apart abruptly, breathless and wide-eyed with disbelief at what had transpired. "What did we just do?" I whispered, panic threading through my voice as shame washed over me like cold water. I don't know, Alex stammered, his face flushed with uncertainty mirroring my own turmoil. The weight of our actions settled heavily upon us, an awareness that we had crossed a line from which there might be no return. In that moment of clarity amidst chaos, fear clawed its way back into my heart, fear not only for ourselves but also for what lay ahead should anyone discover our secret sanctuary built upon shared dreams yet shadowed by reality's inevitable reckoning. Maybe we should take a break, I suggested finally after what felt like an eternity suspended between possibility and consequence. Alex nodded reluctantly but didn't move away from me just yet. Instead, he reached out tentatively to squeeze my hand as if seeking reassurance amid uncertainty, a gesture laden with meaning far beyond mere comfort. As we stood there grappling with emotions swirling around us like autumn leaves caught in a gusty wind outside those studio walls, the scent of magnolias wafting through open windows reminded me how life continued beyond this intimate bubble we had created together. Yet before either of us could process what would happen next or how best to navigate these uncharted waters together, the sound of footsteps echoed down the hallway outside our little haven broke through our reverie like thunderclaps heralding stormy skies ahead. "Is someone here?" Alex asked sharply while glancing toward the door. Worry etched across his features mirrored mine perfectly as dread settled heavily within me once more. The thrill now replaced by anxiety over what lay ahead should anyone discover our secret rendezvous hidden behind those closed doors filled with artful illusions crafted from passion tinged by guilt-laden shadows lurking ever closer. The footsteps grew louder until they halted just outside, the tension thick enough to slice through with a knife as dread coiled tighter around both our hearts waiting for whatever revelation awaited us beyond those walls separating artistry from reality. The footsteps outside the door faded, leaving behind an echo of uncertainty that clung to the air like the sweet scent of magnolias drifting through the open window. I exchanged a glance with Alex, his eyes wide with apprehension, mirroring my own turmoil. The thrill of our secret rendezvous now felt like a fragile glass sculpture, teetering on the edge of a precipice. "I think it's gone," he whispered, his voice barely above a breath. I nodded, though my heart raced with the fear of discovery. The weight of our actions pressed down on me, heavy and suffocating. Yet, amidst the anxiety, there was an undeniable spark, an electric connection that had ignited between us during our time together. "Let's just get back to work," I suggested, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach my eyes. We both knew that art was our sanctuary, a place where we could escape the complexities of life outside these walls. As he picked up his brush again, I took my place on the makeshift pedestal, a simple stool draped in soft fabric. With each stroke of his brush against canvas, I felt a strange mixture of vulnerability and empowerment. The colors he chose seemed to reflect not just my exterior but also the emotions swirling within me, confusion, longing, and a desperate need to be seen. He captured more than just my likeness. He immortalized feelings I had buried deep under layers of domesticity. As we worked in silence, I couldn't shake off the guilt creeping into my thoughts. Was this betrayal? Was it wrong to seek validation in someone who wasn't my husband? The questions spiraled in my mind like autumn leaves caught in a gust of wind. "Can you turn your head slightly?" Alex asked softly. His voice broke through my reverie, pulling me back into the moment. I complied and felt his gaze linger on me, intense and searching, as if he were trying to uncover every hidden facet of my soul. In that moment, something shifted between us. Our eyes locked for what felt like an eternity before he leaned closer. "You're beautiful," he murmured as if sharing a secret meant only for me. My heart raced at his words, they wrapped around me like a warm embrace. "Thank you," I replied quietly, but before I could process what was happening next, Alex closed the distance between us entirely. Our lips met in a gentle collision, a fleeting moment that sent shockwaves through my body. It was unexpected yet intoxicating, it felt both right and terrifying. We pulled away quickly as if burned by fire, both aware of the implications swirling around us like smoke from an extinguished candle. "I shouldn't have done that," he said breathlessly as we stared at each other in shock. "No," I replied softly but firmly. But it felt real. The honesty hung heavy in the air between us as we tried to navigate this new territory we had stumbled upon together. The silence stretched uncomfortably until finally Alex broke it again. "I don't want to complicate things further." His expression was earnest yet conflicted, the artist torn between inspiration and morality. "I know," I said quietly, feeling the weight of unspoken truths pressing down on both our shoulders. "But this, whatever this is, it's hard to ignore." Just then, fate intervened in an unexpected way when I spotted someone walking past outside, a familiar figure from my past, Clara, an old friend from college days who had once been part of my vibrant life before marriage dulled its edges into monotony. "Isn't that Clara?" I pointed towards her as she paused near our studio window, her laughter ringing out like music from another time, a time when life held infinite possibilities instead of constraints. Alex turned sharply at the mention of her name, his brow furrowed with concern as if sensing how much her presence might disrupt our fragile moment together. "Do you want me to hide?" he asked hesitantly while glancing toward the door again. "No," I said quickly but quietly so as not to draw attention outside too soon. "Let's just act normal." Clara approached with an easy smile that lit up her face and brought back memories tinged with nostalgia, late-night talks about dreams and aspirations shared over wine and laughter under starlit skies now replaced by mundane routines filled with obligations. "Hey! What are you two doing here?" she called out cheerfully as she stepped inside without waiting for an invitation. "We were just working on some art," I replied nervously while trying to gauge how much she could read between lines drawn by secrecy over recent weeks spent together with Alex. Her eyes sparkled with curiosity as she glanced around at canvases scattered throughout our studio space adorned with vibrant colors reflecting emotions long buried beneath layers of everyday life. Artistry thriving amidst chaos brought forth by complicated relationships cloaked behind closed doors filled only by whispers shared among two souls seeking validation outside their respective lives. "I didn't know you were still painting," Clara exclaimed enthusiastically while moving closer toward one canvas displaying vivid strokes capturing fleeting moments suspended forever within its frame. A testament to passion ignited within hidden corners where intimacy thrived away from prying eyes yearning for acknowledgement beyond what society deemed acceptable. Norms surrounding family ties woven intricately into fabric binding lives together tightly yet suffocatingly so. As we chatted about art and life choices made along paths diverging unexpectedly over years gone by since college days slipped too easily into distant memories filled only by echoes fading slowly away towards oblivion. The warmth radiating from Clara reminded me how much companionship mattered amidst complex layers formed around love lost or found anew. But beneath her cheerful exterior lay questions unasked lingering silently waiting patiently for moments when truth would emerge inevitably revealing deeper currents flowing beneath surface appearances crafted carefully over time spent building lives seemingly perfect yet riddled secretly inside with discontentment masked perfectly behind smiles worn daily. "Are you coming to Mom's birthday gathering next week?" Clara asked casually while tilting her head slightly as if gauging reactions concealed behind expressions masking emotions yearning desperately for release long overdue. I hesitated before answering, memories flooded back. Family gatherings filled with laughter mingling bittersweetly alongside tensions simmering below surface ready to boil over at any moment threatening chaos erupting unexpectedly disrupting fragile harmony sought desperately amidst familial bonds strained tightly against realities confronting all parties involved. "I'll try," was all I managed finally after moments passed weighed down heavily by implications surrounding choices made recently altering dynamics forever shifting perceptions held firmly until now. An invitation extended bearing consequences looming ominously ahead threatening stability built painstakingly upon foundations rocked suddenly by revelations surfacing unexpectedly bringing forth challenges unimagined before today. Clara smiled knowingly but continued speaking, unaware fully how much those words carried weight far beyond mere pleasantries exchanged among friends reconnecting after years apart, struggling internally, navigating complexities woven intricately throughout lives lived differently yet similarly bound together still through shared experiences once cherished deeply, now tinged perhaps bittersweetly due circumstances faced bravely, ultimately leading towards self-discovery, unfolding, gradually revealing truths hidden beneath layers accumulated painstakingly over time spent seeking validation amongst shadows cast long ago. As she chatted animatedly about old friends planning reunions ahead for upcoming milestones reached collectively, I felt torn inwardly, grappling fiercely against tides pulling relentlessly toward unknown futures unfolding rapidly before us all, while standing precariously at crossroads, uncertain which path would lead ultimately toward fulfillment desired most deeply, yet fraught perilously a long way forward, laden heavily burdened, choices lingering, ever-present, haunting decisions made previously, weighing down hearts yearning desperately for clarity amidst chaos enveloping, swiftly closing in around us all, threatening unraveling everything built painstakingly thus far. The next morning, the sun streamed through the window, casting warm rays across the room. I lay awake, tangled in the sheets, my heart still racing from the night before. We spent the night together, sharing dreams and fears that had long remained unspoken. The intimacy we forged felt both exhilarating and terrifying. I had crossed a line, yet it felt like a step toward reclaiming a part of myself that had been lost for years. As I rose from bed, the reality of our situation pressed heavily on my chest. I glanced at him still sleeping, his features softened by slumber. My stepson was not just an artist, he was a mirror reflecting my own desires back at me. I moved quietly to avoid waking him, needing a moment to gather my thoughts. In the kitchen, I brewed coffee, watching the steam curl upward as I tried to navigate my swirling emotions. The scent of freshly brewed coffee filled the air, mingling with the sweet aroma of magnolias wafting through the open window. Savannah was alive outside, yet inside me stirred an unsettling mix of excitement and dread. My phone buzzed on the counter, shattering my moment of solitude. It was a message from my husband. "Can we talk? I need to discuss some things." My stomach twisted at his words. The cryptic nature of his request unsettled me. It felt like an ominous cloud looming over our fragile peace. I took a deep breath and texted back, "Sure." The reply came quickly, "How about lunch?" I hesitated before agreeing. Lunch would mean facing him while trying to hide everything that had transpired in this house. When he arrived at noon, his demeanor seemed different, more engaged than usual but tinged with an underlying tension that made me uneasy. We sat across from each other at our small dining table, the sunlight streaming in and illuminating unspoken truths between us. "Thanks for meeting me," he said after a moment of silence. "I've been thinking about us, about our marriage." His words hung in the air like a promise or perhaps an ultimatum. My heart raced as I tried to maintain composure. "What do you mean?" "I know things haven't been great," he continued cautiously. "I want to fix this, thus." His eyes searched mine for signs of agreement or hope. I nodded slowly but could feel my pulse quickening as memories flooded back, nights spent alone while he worked late or buried himself in his projects, leaving me feeling invisible in our life together. "Maybe we can try couples therapy," he suggested tentatively. The suggestion struck me as ironic. Here we were discussing therapy while another part of my life unraveled beneath us, a secret relationship that blossomed in shadows and now threatened to consume us both. "Sure," I replied nonchalantly, though inside turmoil brewed fiercely. The thought of sharing my innermost struggles with someone else felt daunting when I barely understood them myself. As we finished lunch, he leaned forward earnestly. "I want us to reconnect, to find what we lost." His sincerity tugged at something deep within me, a flicker of hope mixed with guilt for harboring feelings for someone else entirely. Just then, there was a knock at the door that interrupted our conversation. "I'll get it," I said quickly, eager for any distraction from this emotional tightrope walk we were navigating. Opening the door revealed an unexpected visitor, an old friend from college days who had recently moved back to Savannah. "Surprise," she exclaimed cheerfully as she stepped inside without invitation. "Hi," I managed to say while glancing back at my husband, whose expression mirrored my own surprise and confusion. "Just thought I'd drop by and catch up. It's been too long." She flashed her infectious smile around the room before settling her gaze on us both curiously. My husband stood up awkwardly but greeted her warmly enough despite clearly being caught off guard by her sudden appearance. As we exchanged pleasantries, I couldn't shake off the feeling that this interruption was both fortuitous and inconvenient, a distraction from conversations better left unspoken but also an opportunity to reconnect with someone who understood me outside of these domestic confines. We settled into light conversation about old times while stealing glances at each other, my husband trying hard to appear relaxed despite tension simmering just beneath his surface while I fought against waves of guilt crashing over me every time our eyes met too long or too deeply. Eventually, my friend excused herself to use the restroom, leaving us alone again momentarily, the air thickening once more with unaddressed feelings lingering between us like ghosts haunting these walls built around our lives together. "What were you saying before?" he asked quietly after she left, a hint of urgency creeping into his tone now that we were alone again. "I think, maybe we should consider taking some time apart?" The words slipped out before fully forming in my mind, a suggestion born out of desperation rather than clarity but echoing truths hidden within shadows cast by choices made along this winding path leading towards self-discovery amidst chaos enveloping swiftly closing in around us all threatening unraveling everything, built painstakingly thus far. Before he could respond further though, my friend returned rejoining us with stories-filled laughter brightening up what had become increasingly somber atmosphere since she arrived unexpectedly earlier today, breaking tension momentarily yet reminding me how precarious balance remained between two worlds colliding so violently within confines surrounding home life versus newfound desires emerging beyond its borders. After she left later that afternoon promising to return soon, I found myself standing alone again staring out onto Forsyth Park where children played under sprawling oaks draped in Spanish moss whispering secrets carried softly by warm breezes drifting gently through leaves rustling overhead reminding me life continued moving forward regardless how complicated paths became intertwined a long way forward laden heavily burdened choices lingering ever-present haunting decisions made previously, weighing down hearts yearning desperately for clarity amidst chaos enveloping swiftly closing in around us all threatening unraveling everything built painstakingly thus far. With each passing day leading closer toward family gathering looming ahead, I couldn't shake feeling impending storm brewing just beyond horizon waiting patiently ready strike when least expected catching unaware leaving devastation behind wreckage scattered everywhere reminding everyone involved choices made mattered deeply even if consequences remained hidden behind veils obscuring truth lurking just beneath surface ready emerge unexpectedly shattering illusions held tightly together until then. The gala was a swirl of color and sound, the air thick with the scent of fresh blooms and polished wood. As I stepped into the Stepson Center for the Arts, my heart raced with conflicting emotions. My stepson's artwork had garnered attention, and I found myself caught between pride and an unsettling jealousy. The walls were adorned with his creations, each canvas a testament to his burgeoning talent. Yet, beneath that pride lay a gnawing fear of being overshadowed, of remaining invisible. "Mom! You made it," he exclaimed, his face lighting up when he spotted me in the crowd. His enthusiasm pulled me from my thoughts, if only for a moment. "I wouldn't miss it for the world," I replied, forcing a smile. It felt genuine enough as I embraced him, but there was an undercurrent of tension that neither of us acknowledged. As we wandered through the gallery together, I couldn't help but notice how people gravitated toward him. They praised his work with fervor that made my heart ache. Each compliment felt like a reminder of my own obscurity in our family's narrative. Your pieces are stunning, one art critic gushed, her voice melodic yet sharp as she gestured towards a painting titled Reflections. You have such a unique perspective. Thank you, he replied modestly, but I could see how the praise filled him up like air in a balloon, ready to burst at any moment. I stood back, observing this interaction. The warmth of his success contrasted sharply against my internal chill. My husband had been more attentive lately. Perhaps it was due to this newfound recognition surrounding our family. He'd been trying to reconnect with me in ways he hadn't before, small gestures like holding my hand or asking about my day, yet here I was feeling more disconnected than ever. Are you all right? My stepson's voice broke through my reverie as he turned to face me. Yes, I lied smoothly, though inside I felt anything but steady. Just taking it all in. The evening progressed with laughter and clinking glasses echoing around us. The atmosphere buzzed with excitement as guests mingled and admired the art on display. Yet amidst this celebration, a gnawing sense of displacement clung to me like an unwanted shadow. Then came the moment that shifted everything, a surprise announcement from the gallery director about an upcoming competition for emerging artists. My stepson's name was mentioned among those expected to participate, sparking applause from attendees eager for more of his work. I clapped along with everyone else while my heart sank deeper into uncertainty. The path ahead for him seemed clear and bright while mine remained shrouded in ambiguity. Mom, he leaned closer during the applause, are you going to support me? Of course, came my instinctive response even as doubts swirled within me like autumn leaves caught in a whirlwind. But when I turned around to find my husband standing nearby, his gaze fixed on me with an intensity that felt both comforting and alarming, I lost track of everything else around us. Hey, he said softly as he approached me through the crowd. You look beautiful tonight. His words were sincere. They cut through my tangled emotions momentarily like sunlight breaking through clouds after a storm. Thank you, I replied cautiously, unsure how to navigate this sudden tenderness amidst all that was unfolding around us. I know things haven't been easy lately, he continued carefully, searching for something unspoken between us. I want us to be better. The sincerity in his voice stirred something within me, a flicker of hope mixed with apprehension about what that meant for our future together. But just then, a wave of laughter erupted nearby as guests admired another piece by my stepson, pulling at threads woven tightly into my heart. I'm proud of him, I said quietly but firmly enough that he would hear me over the din surrounding us both. I can see that, he replied thoughtfully before glancing back at our son across the room where admirers surrounded him like moths drawn to light. In that fleeting moment, caught between two worlds, I sensed an unexpected clarity wash over me. Both men were reaching out in their own ways, one seeking connection through art while another sought reconciliation through love. Yet just as quickly as clarity arrived, it slipped away leaving behind uncertainty once more when an unexpected figure appeared at our side, an old friend from years past who had always held sway over social gatherings like these, the kind who thrived on gossip and intrigue alike. Well, if it isn't Savannah's most talented family, she exclaimed cheerfully before focusing her gaze directly onto me with playful curiosity dancing behind her eyes. I've heard whispers about your stepson's artwork making waves. How exciting! My stomach tightened at her probing tone. She had always been one to pry deeper than most dared venture, but there was no escaping her now without drawing attention toward our fragile facade even further. Yes, I managed weakly while forcing myself not to glance toward either man beside me, their expressions unreadable yet heavy-laden beneath layers cloaked by polite smiles masking unspoken tension simmering just below surface waiting patiently ready strike should any slip occur. Oh. And how is your marriage faring? She continued unabashedly. Her question struck harder than anticipated, sending ripples cascading throughout what little composure remained intact within me, now teetering precariously on edge, ready to topple completely should truth dare emerge unguarded. Before I could respond, my husband interjected smoothly, "We're working on things." His tone lacked conviction yet carried undertones suggesting we were far from solid ground despite outward appearances indicating otherwise. The evening rolled on around us while laughter echoed distantly, each sound amplifying, every doubt lingering just beneath surface threatening unravel everything we'd built thus far if only someone dared peel back layers obscuring truth lurking ever so closely waiting patiently ready emerge unexpectedly shattering illusions held tightly together until then. As we navigated conversations flowing seamlessly among guests celebrating creativity, I couldn't shake feeling impending storm brewing just beyond horizon waiting patiently ready strike when least expected catching unaware leaving devastation behind wreckage scattered everywhere reminding everyone involved choices made matter deeply even if consequences remained hidden behind veils obscuring truth lurking just beneath surface ready emerge unexpectedly shattering illusions held tightly together. Until then, the tension in the air was palpable as I stood amidst the mingling guests, their laughter and chatter swirling around me like a distant melody. My heart raced with a mixture of anticipation and dread, knowing that the delicate balance I had maintained was teetering on the edge. The art gallery buzzed with energy, but within me, a storm brewed, one that threatened to expose everything I had tried so hard to keep hidden. My husband, ever the social butterfly, was engrossed in conversation with an old colleague. I caught snippets of their discussion, his voice warm and animated, yet it felt as if he were miles away. I couldn't shake the feeling that he was trying to reconnect with me in ways I hadn't expected. His efforts were commendable but felt too little too late. Meanwhile, my stepson's artwork hung proudly on the walls, each piece a testament to his talent and our shared secret. The vibrant colors and bold strokes seemed to pulse with life, drawing admiration from everyone present. Yet, as I gazed at them, a pang of jealousy twisted in my gut. He was gaining recognition, something I had long craved myself but found elusive in my marriage. "Your stepson's work is remarkable," an acquaintance remarked beside me. "He's going places." "Yes," I replied softly, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach my eyes. "He has a gift." As I turned back to observe him from a distance, pride swelled within me for his achievements. But beneath that pride lurked an unsettling fear, the fear of losing him to the very world he was stepping into. Our bond had grown intimate through our shared artistic journey. It felt fragile now, as if it could shatter under scrutiny. "Are you all right?" My husband's voice broke through my reverie. I turned sharply to find him regarding me with concern etched across his features. "You seem distant tonight." "I'm fine," I responded too quickly, not wanting him to see the turmoil brewing inside. "Just checking in," he said gently before returning to his colleague. I watched him walk away, feeling a flicker of guilt for dismissing his concern so readily. He had been trying harder lately, cooking dinners, planning outings, but it felt like a bandage on a wound that ran much deeper than either of us acknowledged. The evening wore on until we found ourselves surrounded by friends celebrating my stepson's success. A toast was raised in his honor, glasses clinked together while laughter filled the room once more. As I sat there watching him bask in admiration, something shifted within me, a realization that our secret relationship was becoming harder to navigate amidst this newfound attention. "Can we talk?" My stepson approached me quietly amid the festivities. I nodded and led him away from the crowd toward a quieter corner of the gallery where shadows danced along the walls illuminated by soft lights. "What's on your mind?" I asked cautiously. He hesitated before speaking. "I've been thinking about how things are changing. How people are starting to notice my work more." "Yes," I replied slowly, unsure where this conversation would lead us. "I don't want it to affect us," he confessed, vulnerability spilling from his eyes like paint from an overturned palette. "It already is," I whispered back honestly, feeling tears prick at my eyes as emotions surged within me, fear intertwining with longing for connection and validation that had eluded me for so long. His gaze held mine fiercely for a moment before he stepped closer. I care about you more than just as an artist. Our lips met then, a fleeting spark igniting between us before reality crashed back down like thunder echoing through stormy skies above Savannah's historic streets. We pulled apart abruptly as if waking from a dream we both knew could not last long in daylight. I shouldn't have done that, he murmured regretfully while running fingers through his hair nervously. A gesture familiar yet foreign, now tinged with uncertainty, hanging heavy between us like unspoken words left unsaid, lingering just beyond reach, threatening what we'd built thus far. Before another word could pass between us, a commotion erupted nearby, drawing attention back toward the crowd gathered around my husband, who appeared unusually animated, gesturing wildly toward something behind them. Curiosity piqued despite myself. I turned instinctively, wanting desperately not only clarity but also reassurance amidst chaos looming ever closer, threatening unravel everything we'd worked so hard to maintain. As we approached, slowly weaving through clusters of people, I caught sight of what had captured their attention. An unexpected visitor stood at the entrance. A woman whose presence radiated confidence yet bore familiarity, sending shockwaves rippling through me instantly, freezing time itself momentarily, blurring lines between past choices made, present consequences lingering heavily above like dark clouds gathering, ominously ready, unleash torrents, rainfall washing away illusions held tightly together until then. Who is she? My voice trembled slightly, betraying uncertainty despite efforts maintain composure outwardly while internally turmoil churned relentlessly beneath surface. Emotions roiling dangerously close, surface threatening spill over into open air, revealing truths better left buried deep within shadows, obscuring light, illuminating paths ahead. She's someone important from our past, my husband replied curtly while glancing back toward her, still standing confidently at entrance, surveying room filled with curious onlookers drawn toward her presence magnetically. An undeniable force commanding attention effortlessly, leaving whispers trailing behind her every move, echoing throughout space, reminding everyone involved choices made mattered deeply, even if consequences remained hidden behind veils, obscuring truth lurking just beneath surface. Ready emerge unexpectedly, shattering illusions held tightly together until then. Suddenly, all sense of normalcy shattered completely, leaving everything hanging precariously upon edge, poised ready topple over into abyss below where secrets lay buried, waiting patiently return, haunting those who dared venture too close, revealing depths unknown lurking just beneath surface. Ready emerge unexpectedly, shattering illusions held tightly together until then. The air in the room thickened with unspoken words. I could sense the tension radiating from both men, each vying for my attention in their own way. My husband, with his well-meaning intentions, was trying to reconnect. Meanwhile, my stepson was grappling with his burgeoning career and the emotional complexity of our relationship. The art world was opening its doors to him, and I found myself caught in a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. "Are you coming with me?" my husband asked, breaking the silence that had settled like dust around us. His eyes were hopeful, but I could see the undercurrent of desperation beneath them. He had planned a surprise trip to help us reconnect, an escape from our routine life. The thought of it made my heart race with uncertainty. "I don't know," I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. The idea of leaving Savannah felt like abandoning something precious. My stepson's art was gaining recognition, and I had become a part of that journey in ways I never anticipated. As if sensing my hesitation, my stepson stepped forward. "Mom," he began, then paused as if weighing his words carefully. "You should go if you think it will help." His expression was earnest but tinged with something deeper, a vulnerability that tugged at my heart. "Help what?" I asked, frustration creeping into my tone. "Help me forget? Help me ignore what's happening between us?" The truth hung heavy in the air. We both knew that our connection had shifted beyond mere artistic collaboration. He looked away for a moment, gathering himself before meeting my gaze again. "I just want you to be happy." His voice trembled slightly as he spoke those words filled with sincerity but layered with an underlying tension that made everything feel more complicated. Before I could respond, an unexpected knock echoed through the house. It startled us all into silence. My husband exchanged glances with me before moving toward the door. My heart raced. Who could it be at this hour? When he opened it, a familiar face greeted us, an old friend from college days who had once been a part of our lives before marriage and motherhood took precedence over youthful dreams. She stepped inside with an air of familiarity but carried an unsettling energy that immediately shifted the atmosphere. "Sorry to drop by unannounced," she said cheerfully, though her smile didn't quite reach her eyes. "I was in town and thought I'd check in." My husband welcomed her warmly while I stood frozen in place, acutely aware of how this unexpected visit threatened to unravel the delicate balance we had created over these past months. "Is everything okay?" she asked casually, but her gaze flickered between me and my stepson as if searching for hidden truths behind our expressions. "Just planning a little getaway," my husband replied enthusiastically, trying to steer the conversation away from any undercurrents that might be brewing beneath the surface. "Oh, that sounds lovely," she exclaimed, oblivious or perhaps willfully ignorant of the tension simmering just below our polished exteriors. As they chatted about travel plans and old memories, I felt increasingly out of place, like an outsider in my own life. The weight of secrets pressed down on me as I watched them interact so easily while I remained ensnared by conflicting emotions. "What about you?" She turned to me suddenly, her curiosity piqued as if sensing some hidden turmoil within me. "Are you excited for this trip?" I hesitated before answering. How could I convey what lay beneath? "It's complicated," I finally managed to say. "Complicated how?" she pressed gently, concern etched on her features. Before I could respond, my stepson interjected smoothly, "Just family dynamics." His attempt to deflect attention only deepened my internal struggle. It felt like a betrayal even though he meant well. The conversation continued around me while I remained lost in thought, a swirling storm of emotions threatening to spill over at any moment. A part of me wanted to confide in her about everything, the art sessions that turned into something more profound than mere creativity, how deeply intertwined our lives had become amidst canvases and brushes. But another part clung desperately to secrecy. The fear of judgment looming large over all our decisions weighed heavily upon me like an anchor pulling me deeper into uncertainty. Hours passed like fleeting moments until finally she said her goodbyes and left us alone again within those four walls filled with unspoken truths hanging heavily between us all. "What do we do now?" my husband asked once we were finally alone again after closing the door behind her, a question laden with expectation as if seeking reassurance from me regarding this impending trip he had planned so carefully without knowing where our hearts truly lay at this moment. "I don't know," came out almost reflexively. It felt too raw and real for any easy answers or solutions right now amidst swirling chaos surrounding us all recently, especially considering how much remained unresolved between myself and his son standing there looking equally lost yet hopeful somehow still despite everything unfolding around us all too quickly without warning. "We should talk," he said softly yet firmly enough that there was no mistaking its importance behind those two simple words carrying weight far beyond their surface meaning alone echoing throughout space surrounding us both feeling palpable urgency rising within him reflecting back at me mirrored within his gaze searching mine seeking clarity amidst confusion reigning supreme here tonight. I nodded slowly knowing full well whatever came next would change everything forever. The very fabric woven together through shared moments spent creating art transformed into something far greater than either one ever anticipated when first embarking down this path together. But uncertainty loomed large still casting shadows across every decision awaiting resolution hanging precariously upon edge poised ready topple over into abyss below where secrets lay buried waiting patiently return haunting those who dared venture too close revealing depths unknown lurking just beneath surface ready emerge unexpectedly shattering illusions held tightly together until then. The weight of the moment pressed down on me as I stood at the crossroads of my life. My stepson, with his paint-splattered hands and earnest gaze, revealed his own fears. "What if this all falls apart?" he asked, voice trembling slightly. The vulnerability in his tone mirrored my own inner turmoil. I wanted to assure him that art was a sanctuary, but our reality had twisted into something unrecognizable. Art is about truth, I replied, my voice steadier than I felt. And sometimes that truth hurts. The words hung in the air between us, a fragile bridge spanning the chasm of our emotions. Then there was the letter from my husband. I hadn't expected it to arrive today, not when everything felt so precarious. It lay on the kitchen table, stark against the morning light filtering through the window. My heart raced as I approached it, fingers trembling slightly as I unfolded the paper. His words were filled with affection and a hint of desperation. He spoke of love and commitment but also expressed doubts about our future together. I want to reconnect, he wrote, but I can't shake this feeling that we've lost something vital. The letter felt like a lifeline thrown into turbulent waters, both reassuring and terrifying. As I read his words again, a realization washed over me. He sensed my distance. The thought sent chills down my spine. Had he noticed the changes in me? The way my laughter now danced more freely around my stepson's studio? Or perhaps it was more than that. Maybe he could feel the shadows creeping into our marriage. Are you okay? My stepson's voice broke through my reverie. His concern was palpable, and for a fleeting moment, it felt like we were two souls adrift in a vast ocean of uncertainty. I don't know, I admitted quietly, feeling exposed under his gaze. Maybe we should talk about it, he suggested hesitantly. The implication hung between us like an unspoken agreement, a line we both knew we had crossed but couldn't quite retract. Before I could respond, a sudden noise interrupted us. A loud knock at the door echoed through the house, shattering our fragile moment of intimacy. My heart raced again as dread pooled in my stomach. An unexpected visitor always signaled trouble in this tangled web we'd woven. I'll get it, I said quickly, trying to mask my anxiety as I moved toward the door. Each step felt heavy with anticipation and fear of what awaited me on the other side. Opening it revealed an unfamiliar face, a neighbor from down the street who had always been polite but distant during our brief encounters at community events. She stood there with an expression that hinted at urgency mixed with concern. Sorry to bother you, she began, glancing over her shoulder as if checking for someone behind her. I saw your husband earlier, he seemed upset. My heart sank further into despair at her words. Upset? Why? She hesitated before speaking again. He mentioned something about needing space, to think about things. Her eyes darted away briefly before settling back on mine, an unspoken understanding passing between us. Thank you for letting me know, I replied evenly, though inside turmoil swirled like a storm threatening to break loose at any moment. As she walked away, leaving me standing in shock on my doorstep, panic clawed its way up from within me. What if he truly needed space? What if he found out everything? I turned back toward the studio where my stepson still waited, his expression mirrored mine, confusion mixed with concern etched into his features. What was that about? He asked cautiously. My husband, he's struggling, I confessed quietly, feeling raw and exposed once more under scrutiny. He might need time away. A silence fell between us like a heavy curtain drawn across a stage where drama unfolded unseen by others. What does that mean for us? He finally dared to ask. Hope flickered in his eyes like candlelight threatened by a gust of wind. I don't know, came my honest reply, words escaping without pretense or artifice now tinged with fear rather than longing or desire. His gaze dropped to the floor for a moment before lifting again. Determination replaced uncertainty within him as he took a step closer, a gesture laden with meaning neither one dared articulate fully yet understood implicitly nonetheless. The bond forged through shared secrets now teetering precariously on edge waiting for resolution while shadows loomed large overhead threatening to engulf us both whole despite all efforts made until then. Suddenly another knock echoed through our fragile bubble, The sound sharp enough to pierce through layers built carefully over time, wrapping around hearts intertwined, unexpectedly finding solace amid chaos swirling just beyond grasping distance, yet so close enough still. This time when I opened the door wide enough for someone else's presence to invade our sanctuary once more, it wasn't just another neighbor or passerby seeking conversation. No, it was someone far more significant. The kind of presence capable of unraveling everything we'd built together thus far. My husband stood there looking weary yet resolute, eyes searching mine, desperately seeking answers, while mine reflected back confusion mingled with fear, coiling tightly around every thought, racing through mind, unable to comprehend what would happen next or how this would end. "Can we talk?" His voice carried weight behind it, like thunder rumbling ominously across horizon, promising storms ahead ready sweep away all certainty, leaving nothing but remnants scattered across ground where dreams once flourished, unfettered by doubt. Caught between two worlds, the warmth radiating from one side filled laughter shared freely amidst paintbrushes dipped deep into color palettes, waiting capture essence, fleeting moments slipping past too quickly, while other side beckoned familiarity comforted by love known yet strained under pressure, mounting steadily, rising tide threatening drown all hope, left standing tall against odds stacked high against them both. I stood silent, caught within whirlwind spinning wildly around me. A choice looming large ahead, filled uncertainty overshadowing every decision made thus far, leading nowhere good, only deeper down paths fraught, danger lurking just beneath surface, waiting strike when least expected, shattering illusions held tightly together until then.